Does this sound familiar? You pick up a book, you read 2 pages, and then you're checking your phone, rinse and repeat. If that sounds like you, then you're probably in a reading slump, so I'm going to tell you what types of books you should read to help you get out of it. So what exactly is a reading slump? I would say that it's when you lack the motivation to even pick up a book and enjoy it and read it. It's when you feel like there's a wall in front of you and you just can't seem to push past it. You have no motivation to want to read. And this does typically happen to big readers. And it's often because of like burnout, reading the wrong genre, too many distractions going on, too much pressure, or even just reading the same genre over and over again. Because I saw somebody on TikTok put it a really good way where it's like, you wouldn't want to eat the exact same food every single day. I mean, some people do, but in this case, you wouldn't want to eat it every single day because then it becomes boring. That treat now is just, oh, it's all the time, and it becomes predictable and boring and tasteless. And so diversifying what you read is really important. So if you're in a reading slump, what should you not read? Sorry, Sanderson, but big tomes are not usually something you would want to read during a reading slump because they're really intimidating. And if you're already having trouble reading, looking at this is just going to stress you out even more. Other types of genres you might not want to read when you're in a reading slump would be like dense classics. Honestly, like, don't read Count of Monte Cristo if you're in a reading slump. Not only is it a big tome, it's also very dense. Even Dracula, I find, was really hard to understand because it's the classic, that kind of harder to understand old-timey phrasing. And then I would also say no slow literary fictions because it's not really going to grip you the same way, and you're going to find your eyes glazing, and then you're going to be reaching for your phone again and all of that stuff. So what types of books should you read when you're in a reading slump? I would say the first would be in the category of short and sweet. Think something like this. I definitely recommend 5-Star Stranger by Kat Tang. Very, very short book. Really short. You can read it in just like a matter of hours. It's only 207 pages, and it basically follows along this man who you never know his name, but he basically is a stranger for hire. You rent a stranger, and so he takes on all these different personas and kind of just is whoever people want him to be. And so he's kind of like running away from himself, and then he's become like this fake dad for many, many years and starts to see himself as part of that family. It's really good. It's short, it's sweet. Some other recommendations would be some graphic novels, manga if you're into that, and even just like essays or anything else like that you can come across. It's really easy to just pick up one of these shorter books, novellas, anything really short and sweet and good. This is what I would definitely recommend though, because it is really, really good. Next up would be what I call palate cleanser books. So these are books that don't require you to really think, and they work really well after you've finished reading like a high fantasy kind of book, any book with world building or magic, or really anything that causes you to actually have to think and use your imagination. I would call these the palate cleanser books. I would really say anything from Emily Henry and anything from Carly Fortune are really good palate cleanser books because they're all just cute romances that tie into literary fiction. So Carly Fortune does a really good job in creating the most beautiful summertime settings. All of her books take place in Canada, so I really enjoyed those as palate cleanser books. And then Emily Henry is an incredible writer with very realistic characters, and the romances are always really, really fun and sweet and laugh out loud funny. So yeah, her books are also really sad at times as well, but like, they're really good palate cleansers. Thrillers are also really, really good. 2 that I recommend off the top of my head definitely is Wrong Place, Wrong Time by Gillian McAllister. This book is a time travel, except every single day she's going backwards by 1 day, so all of the progress that she made did not happen, and she's basically trying to figure out why her son had killed somebody. It is so good. And then Dearest by Jackie Walters. I really like this book because it's really, really short. It's a horror thriller. So it, honestly, I could not put it down. These are what I really call like the thrillers that are like unput-it-downables, if that's a word. And this one's really good. It's basically about a mother and her newborn and some creepy stuff that happens, and I don't want to say too much because it is very short and there's a lot that happens in it. But yeah, definitely like thrillers are fun too because they just like, they grip you hard and they pull you along for the ride, and so you don't want to put them down, especially if they're one-offs. Like, I find one-off books are definitely better when you're in a reading slump versus like a series. Even if it's a series of like 20 books, it still feels like too much because like the story's not complete. It's too much commitment. So short one-offs like books like these are really, really good, especially if they're thriller. Next up, I would say, and this one kind of contradicts everything that I just told you, and this is rereading books that you really, really liked for that nostalgic vibe. And so for me, I'm not really a big rereader, but it does help sometimes when you really just like, you can't get into a new book. And so my go-tos would always be, of course, Twilight by Stephanie Meyer. This book is such a nostalgic book for me. I really, really love it. It makes me feel like I'm a teenager again, having a good time, obviously following along with Bella and Edward and just the whole, everything about like this. I unironically am obsessed with this series, so I love it so much. And then like when you get really into it again and then you follow all the fan pages and even following fan pages of books that you have already read that you really, really like, I find helps me get out of a reading slump as well, oddly enough. But yeah, definitely recommend books that you really enjoyed that you would read again. So for me, it'd be Twilight. And I would also reread Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber. I really, really love this book. Following along Evangeline and my boy Jax. As she and him kind of make their little bargain, and it's just so good and magical and fantasy vibes. So you can see why these kind of contradict everything I told you about. They're not super small books. They are fantasy, for me at least. Well, I mean, Twilight is like half and half, but yeah, but it's really just whatever books you really enjoyed, just read them again. And it honestly does help. Like I did it with Hunger Games and I was like so back into the whole entire series. So yeah, you can break the rules. Another tip would be if you don't actually want to read, like even pick up a book, audiobooks are a really good solution, especially if you're a really busy person. I personally like the dramatized reads. They're just a lot of fun. I love when there's a bunch of different voice actors. One of my friends had said that the Ghost Woods by C.J. Cook has a very, very, very good narration. The Imperium series has really good narration as well for the audiobook. So definitely check those out and just look for anything. I know if you have Spotify Premium, you can actually get a lot of free audiobooks that way as well, or Audible or anything like that, because sometimes it is just hard to sit there with a book and move the page, but you can listen to it and it just kind of helps you get out of that slump. And I actually did that for one of the reading slumps I had, and it ended up just being obsessed. And it was actually a fun fact, The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, that I actually listened to as an audiobook, and then I was obsessed with it, so I bought it and then I read it again. I also asked some of my subscribers what would they recommend if they were in reading slumps, and here's what they said. And don't forget that being in a reading slump is completely normal. It's like one of the most normal things that you can experience as a reader. And it's the equivalent of like the writer's block, but for reading, in my opinion, at least. So remember to just be kind to yourself and take it slow. Read something that doesn't take too much brain power, something short maybe, something sweet, and just something that feels fun. Don't put a lot of pressure on yourself because you will get back to reading. I had a reading slump for like 2 years. Until I realized that I'm like, oh, I can read other stuff and I can read like little things. I don't need to finish a book in an entire day, like all of that kind of stuff. I would also say I do have a video about how you can read more, and one of the tips that I think kind of transfers over into reading slumps is just read 2 pages. Just read 2 pages. You'll get back into it, and those 2 pages can really get you like involved in the book, and you'll end up reaching kind of you'll finish the book eventually. It depends how many pages in it, but just multiply that 2 by however long it takes, and that's when you'll finish it. I really, really believe in that 2-page rule, and it makes you want to read more. Eventually you're like, oh, I'll read another page. I'll read another page. And then suddenly you're halfway through the book. And so let me know, what are your tips for getting out of a reading slump? What genres do you read when you're in a reading slump? Are there any books that have just pulled you out of the depths of despair? Let me know in the comments, and like this video if you found the tips helpful. And if you haven't already, definitely hit the subscribe button and turn on the bell notification. That way you get notified anytime a new video comes out. Great news as well before you go. If you've ever wanted to be part of an exclusive community where you get access to polls, behind the scenes content, videos before they're published, and little tips and tricks when it comes to reading and writing and a bunch of other stuff, You actually can by becoming a member of my channel. Anytime someone becomes a member, it doesn't matter which tier you pick, there are 3 different ones with a bunch of different perks inside of them. It all directly goes towards me reading more books that we can review and talk about on this channel. So if that sounds interesting to you, all the information for becoming a member is in the description to this video. So definitely check it out if it sounds interesting to you. And with that, I'm going to wish you warm wishes and fish kisses, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!